What do Mozart, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and the world's most carbonated energy drink have in common? They are all products of Austria, whose national team has finally broken its drought and are making their first World Cup appearance since 1998. Welcome to Kickback Soccer Media's World Cup Capsules, where you'll learn everything you need to know about all 48 national teams competing at the 2026 World Cup, from the history of the game, the nation's current World Cup trajectory, unsung heroes, cultural moments, and so much more. I'm David Goss, and today we are talking about Das Team. We are talking about Austria. Leading the charge for this Austrian team in North America in 2026 are two veterans, David Alaba and Marko Arnautović. They are the two most capped players in the nation's history, but with vastly different career arcs. Alaba's career has been a straight-up rocket ship since day one. He is and has been the public face of the team. He made 281 appearances for German giants Bayern Munich and now leads Real Madrid's backline. He is the second youngest player to ever play for this senior national team. He made his debut all the way back at the tender age of 17, and now 16 years later, he is still the face of this team. For Arnautović, he's had his ups and downs, known at times more for his conduct off the field than his great and incredible skill on the field. He's been labeled as a party boy at times. He has been accused of racist language multiple times. He's had transfers canceled at the last minute. He went and played in China, but yet he has always shown up for this national team. He is a big, dynamic attacker, and he is the all-time leading goal scorer in the country's history. Austria have played in 7 World Cups, its most recent coming back in 1998. Unfortunately, it seems like Das Team's glories days are way, way in the past. Like 90 years ago in the past. Austria's golden age came back in the 1930s. The Austrian Football Association, known as the OFB, was founded back in 1904. It's been a member of FIFA since then. Austrians started playing the game in the late 1800s, and the first cup competition started in 1900, with the first league kicking off finally in 1911. On May 16, 1931, the Austrian national team was the first continental European side to defeat Scotland, one of the two founders of the sport, and subsequently won the Central European International Cup in 1932. They finished 4th place at the 1934 World Cup, and then they won the silver medal at the Olympic Games in Berlin in 1936. In the 1930s, the Austrian team was known as the Wunderteam, literally miracle team. They had players like Matthias Sindelar, nicknamed the Mozart of football, the world's 3rd highest goal scorer of all time, Joseph Bekan, that is a record that still stands, and Johann Horvath. Between the years of 1931 to 1934, they had the impressive run of 28 victories, a draw, and 2 defeats. They scored a whopping 102 goals in that span, and they reached the semifinals of the World Cup in 1934. That 34 Wunderteam beat France 3-2 in extra time. Then they knocked off Hungary, who would become one of the powers of Europe just a few years later. In the semifinal, they lost to the host Italy 1-0, and in the 3rd place match, they lost to Germany 3-2. But throughout the years, several sources have reported that the tournament was marred by bribery and corruption. As you could imagine, a World Cup being played in Italy under Italian dictator Benito Mussolini, who was using the tournament as a propaganda tool for fascism. According to the reports, Mussolini personally selected the refs for any game that Italy was playing in, and the Italian government meddled in FIFA's organization of events. They reorganized the logistics of the matches to further promote fascism. Now, not saying this Italy team wasn't good. They went on to win the following edition of the World Cup held in France, as well as the Olympic football tournament in 1936. With the Nazi invasion and control of the country, it was hard for soccer to continue to develop. The Austrian leagues were added to the German leagues during those days, and after World War II, it just wasn't easy to reorganize soccer and start back up with the devastation of the wars. That said, leagues were formed and reformed, and in 1949, Austrians continued to participate and watch soccer. Austria's best performance at a World Cup was in 1954. In the quarterfinals, they defeated host Switzerland 7-5. In the semis, they lost 6-1 to eventual champions West Germany, but they beat Uruguay 3-1 to take third place and their best finish. But it would not continue to go up from there. 1978, the next World Cup that Austria would finally appear in, they topped their group, beating Spain and Sweden, and lost to Brazil in the second group stage, the way it was set up back then. They lost to the Netherlands 5-1, into Italy 1-0, but they beat West Germany 3-2 in their last game. And that is a historic match. In Austria, it's known as Das Wunder von Córdoba, the miracle of Córdoba, and in Germany as Das Schmack von Córdoba, the disgrace of Córdoba. The game is fondly remembered by fans of the Austrian national team for being the first time in 47 years that Austria had defeated a team from either West or East Germany at that time partition. Germany at the time had a chance to make the final or the third place game, while Austria were already eliminated because of the group stage setup. But Hans Krankel's 87th minute winner to put Austria 3-2 ahead crashed the Germans' dreams and eliminated them from the tournament. The commentator Eddie Finger's goal call became legendary in Austria and was the center of multiple marketing campaigns. Here is the translation. Cranky's in the box. He shoots. Goal, 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 goal. I am going bonkers. Krankel has scored. It's 3-2 to Austria. Ladies and gentlemen, we are hugging each other. Rebel, my colleague, graduate engineer Posh, we're kissing each other. 3-2 to Austria by our Krankel's magnificent goal. He beat all of them. And just wait a minute, and perhaps we can pour ourselves a small glass of wine. I think we can all agree, though, Eddie said it better than me. The last World Cup appearance for this team was in 1998 when they exited in the group stage. Austria hadn't qualified for Euros until 2008 when they made it as co-hosts alongside Switzerland. But since then, they've qualified 3 other times, with their best performance being in 2020 and 2024 exiting at the round of 16. So things are moving in the right direction for this Austria group. In World Cup qualification, they were grouped with Bosnia and Herzegovina, Romania, Cyprus, and San Marino. They started off well with 5 straight wins. Then they fell to Romania 1-0 in their 6th game. They ended up topping the group with 6 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw. Marko Arnautović, no surprise, led the group with 8 goals. Their tactical identity, it's clear. They have experienced German coach Ralf Rangnick, who took over in April of 2022. Rangnick spent almost 10 years with Red Bull Soccer, operating as the director of football, head of sport development, and head coach on a couple of different occasions for RB Leipzig. He is the perfect fit for this Austrian national team. He's the godfather of modern German football and tactics. He's the one who created gegenpressing and popularizing zonal marking. He's credited for influencing Thomas Tuchel, Julian Nagelsmann, Jurgen Klopp, and many others. But he loves to break form. He loves to change what is considered normal, and he is the type of coach who can use the talent that Austria has and accelerate it to a higher level. And of course, energy during soccer fits perfectly with what Austria is and the players that they have. They've been able to punch above their weight under Ralf Rangnick, including in those 2 Euro performances. Currently, Austria has produced a few great players that are on the back end of their career, hoping this World Cup is their swan song. David Alaba, Marko Arnautović, as well as Marcel Sabitzer. While getting up there in age, these players are still a huge part of this team, but Ragnick's been able to inject youth into the team and have a few stars that are entering their prime now, including Bayern Munich's Konrad Laimer and Tottenham's Kevin Danso. So this team has a clear style of play. They have a manager who fits their ethos, who fits their DNA, and they have some superstars that they can lean on at times. This Austria team may not be a World Cup favorite. I think they're a group, though, that no one will be happy about seeing. When you talk about up-and-coming stars, I mentioned already a couple big names. But Nicolas Seiwald, a 24-year-old center mid currently playing for RB Leipzig, might be the brightest star coming through. A Red Bull player through and through, he is an essence of the system that's been built under Red Bull. He started out with FC Liefering, which is the reserve team for RB Salzburg, owned by Red Bull back in 2019. After impressing in the following 2 seasons, he made the jump to the senior team in Austria, where he played 107 times before then making the jump to RB Leipzig in 2023. With Leipzig, he has solidified himself as an important piece, playing 42 games for the club last season, where they finished second in the league. Seiwald already has 42 caps for the national team and has become a massive piece of Rangnick's group. At one point, he didn't miss a single minute in 31 straight games for Austria under Ralf Rangnick. That is the longest active streak of any player. In that 32nd game, he played against San Marino. He was subbed out in the 76th minute because they were winning by a lot, and he had already had an assist. He then went on to play 90 minutes in the next game, so he didn't really lose favor at that point. He is praised for his pressing and his physical attributes, especially with the amount of minutes he plays, and he's able to continue to play at a high level in these styles for both club and country. When you talk about heroes of the game in Austria, there is only one name that you can bring up. That is Matthias Sindelar, who I mentioned earlier as part of the Wunderteams. He is known as the Mozart. The Guardian, in an article back in 2008, called him, quote, the Pele of the interwar years. He is also known as the Paperman because of how he looked. He was a star for Austria Vienna for 15 years, from 1924 to 1939. He made 312 appearances and scored 240 goals. He was also the star of the Austrian national team, 43 appearances and 26 goals. But what's even more meaningful and powerful is what Sindelar symbolized within the Austrian resistance movement. He was entering his mid-30s just as Hitler was coming to power, and the Anschluss, the Germans' annexation of Austria, was in the process of occurring. He refused to play for the German national team. He cited old age and injury, but many feel like that was an excuse. In 1938, weeks after the Nazis had annexed Austria, the Wunderteam took the field for the last time. They did so against Germany in a match that was billed by Nazi sports authorities as a, quote, reunification derby. It was reportedly decided beforehand. Obviously, an event like this would be predetermined. It would be a low-scoring draw, and that would be it. But by the end of the second half, Sindelar had had enough. He said, forget this. He put one past the German keeper. He set up a second, and Austria won 2-0. Nazi officials, as you'd expect, were not pleased with this. And tragically, Sindelar was found dead 10 months later. The official cause of death was carbon monoxide poisoning, thanks to a leaky chimney flue. He was found dead in his apartment alongside his girlfriend, but conspiracy theories range from suicide to an orchestrated Gestapo murder. His work was under surveillance throughout the time, and because of the nature of his death, he wasn't allowed a big funeral or a celebration, and he has been erased from the wider consciousness. Even now, he isn't really celebrated posthumously around Austria. There are no statues, there are no stadiums named after him, which you're surprised by for a person who meant so much in this big moment, but it shows you the way people can affect history. You cannot talk about football in Austria without talking about Red Bull. We've already said the name multiple times. One of the world's most popular energy drinks, Red Bull is also a major player in club soccer worldwide. It owns 6 different clubs around the globe in 4 different regions, highlighted, of course, by RB Leipzig, Red Bull Salzburg, and the New York Red Bulls. While Red Bull has drawn heavy criticism for its influence on the modern game, it has helped establish a powerful development system that's benefited this Austrian national team. But backlash has been strong. It was strong when they took over Salzburg in 2005. Some of the original supporters left the club and created a new team, SV Austria Salzburg, who are now working their way up from the 7th division all the way right now to the 2nd division in the hopes one day to challenge Red Bull Salzburg at the highest level. There was controversy when they took over teams in Brazil. There is controversy in the U.S. with their support and the way they have managed their team in New York. Despite some big names and a solid coach and philosophy, there's not a lot of World Cup experience in this team, aka none. So a deep run feels a little bit like a stretch, but this is a group with an interesting formula, and a round of 16 feels like a possibility in their grasps. And as always, we love to leave you with a fun fact. The Austrians have invented a lot of different things. The waltz, the sewing machine, Red Bull, if that's what you're into as well. It is also home to the world's oldest zoo and oldest operating restaurant. And as you all know, it is, of course, the location of The Sound of Music. Make sure you tune into the rest of our capsules and follow us on Blue Sky, Instagram, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts.